Okay, so with the guest portal full customization, you're pretty much going to have to come up with the raw HTML code yourself. And the place for you to find this, at least for their starter sample code, is, let me bring up a link, and this is going to be at the end, or is actually part of the reference section on the ISE 1.2 user guide. As you can see right here, there's a section for sample code for sponsor and guest portal customization. So if you kind of scroll through this, it talks about all the variables that's being used for the HTML, all of these, and then there's also, for the majority of it, HTML sample codes for different type of page. As you can see right here, there's one for login, for successful login, error page, acceptable use policy, change password. So those are the ones that you can customize yourself. Okay, so I kind of have copied out these codes and put them in the individual files already, and I'm going to make sure that we'll make those available for downloads for you guys. With that said, let's go through some of the sample codes. The one that really matters to us the most is the login page, so let's go through that, and also make sure they'll provide this link as well. Okay, so right here we have all of our codes put into individual HTML files. As you can see, this one right here is for the login, and it was just simply double click on that just to show you guys what it looks like. As you can see, the sample code itself is very minimal with only the login boxes, and this is supposed to be the place for the logo, and I do not have the logo file placed in the same directory, so that's why it's kind of broken right now, but it doesn't matter since we can replace that with our logo anyhow. So that's what it looks like right now, and to show you, let me bring up, and this is a Microsoft Expression Web 4, which is the HTML editor that I use for this. So let's analyze or go through the default login so you guys have an idea of what's included in the file. Okay, so let me drag that over. Right now I'm in the split screen mode, so I have the code on the top and the actual layout of the page at the bottom. So you can see as you change the code, it'll get reflected in the bottom half of the screen right here. Okay, so we're just gonna start going through HTML. So hopefully you guys know a little bit about HTML. So from top you have our title. You can change your title page. There's also a reference to the style sheet or CSS called style.css, and that's also part of the sample code. As you can see, the default of the location of the style CSS is located 2 layers deep under a folder called portal, and demo2 is actually a name of the guest portal, so that's not really relevant, but portals with the S, you have to keep these, and then you change the name of the second directory according to your name of your guest portal, which you will see in a second. Okay, but this is where, as you can see right here, I have a folder called portal and demo2, and this is where the style CSS is located. Okay, going down is pretty much generic HTML code with all the tables and everything, but what's important to us that we need to copy out of this file is the form for the login. So you can see when you click on that, it's part of a form called CUES or Q's login form. So we need to kind of extract that out and then put that in our custom HTML code page. And what you need to make sure is just pretty much what's really matters to us. You have to make sure that you also include some of the important part of the code as well, and those are things like inputs. I'm sure if you're familiar with HTML, you know these are what really make the form works. Those are the parameters that get passed along when you go from page to page. Okay, so when you click on the form, you might as well just select the whole table, as you can do by moving up the level here on the tag. And by clicking on that table tag, you can see you select the whole table. And these are the code that we actually need. Okay, so anything else is pretty much irrelevant until you scroll all the way down to the bottom at the end of the HTML code. But this is where the actual script starts. So this is what also really important for us, because there's a script that gets referred to by the links and form in the body, so we have to make sure that we copy these out as well. Okay, so the whole idea is to pretty much take the guts of the sample HTML and then put them in our own customized HTML with all the nice logos and look and feel that you like. Alright, let's take another example. Let's open up a AUP or acceptable use policy. You can see it get pretty much the same idea with the link to the CSS. This one you can see is actually has some background color and font color, and those are defined under the default or the sample CSS file. And for this guy, what really matters is again the form. So if you're trying to figure out, there's a form right there, and then you probably want to copy out again the whole table, which in this case actually includes the whole table. And that's like a majority of this particular page right here. Okay, again, scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's a script section that we need to copy that over in full. Okay, so now that you guys kind of get a hang of it, let's go ahead and actually do one for our custom login page. So what I have created already is a HTML template that I call it LabMinutes_template. And if we open that, you can see it has our nice little logo and border, pretty much that we can use moving forward for all of our pages. And we leave the space in the middle where we can copy and paste the code from the sample code. Okay, everything else is just the cosmetic or things that basically makes your website looks pretty. Okay, so we're going to create a custom login page. Although I have pretty much all of them created or customized already, but for the purpose of our demonstration here, I'm going to go ahead and copy the template, do copy, and then paste. And we're going to call this one LM_login 2, since we already have one that call login. Then let me open that. I'm going to close the template since this is the file that we're going to be dealing with now. You can see that I changed the title already just to kind of go through what we have or what we copy over from the template. So we changed the title of the page, and then I also updated the links to this style sheet. As you can see, like I mentioned, the portal has to be there, but the second part of this link is your actual name of the guest portal you created on ISE. So ISE know exactly where to look for that when we had one created called LM Guest Portal. Again, just to remind you and make sure that you are aware of what that is. Actually, it's not created yet. We're going to have to do that afterwards. So far we have LM Guest Default. We're going to create one out with LM Guest Portal in a second here. But that's just so you know that where the name came from. Okay, again, with the style CSS, I already have customized the content of the style CSS to incorporate the fonts and colors that I like the page to have. And then everything else is just pretty much a series of tables and cells. Okay, so now what we're going to do is to copy the actual code and script itself from the sample. And we said that we're going to copy the whole table. So right here, locate the tag for the form, move one level up so that includes the whole table. Make sure you right click, copy the code, and then come here, put the cursor where you want to paste the code. Make sure we know exactly where that is, which is right here. And then right click and then paste. And here you have all the codes that you need. With all the inputs and everything, you can see how now we have a login box in the middle of our page, and what remains is the script at the end of the sample code. So make sure that you copy that over as well. So copy, and then we'll fast forward to the end, and then we'll paste the code there. So at this point we have pretty much everything that we need on our login page. Now we're just going to have to kind of dress it up a little bit. So let's go through that real quick. We're not going to go crazy about it, but let me make it look a little better. I'm going to expand that. For the username password, I already create a font, customized font as part of my style sheet called body text. So I'm going to right click and apply the style. So just to change the style, as well as the button, I have a class called BT submit. We can apply that. There you go. And then also we want to change those links using Arial 12. So apply that as well. Okay. So you can see as part of the default sample code, it includes all these links that you might not even going to have enabled on your portal. But since this is a fully customized HTML, what we have to do ourselves is to remove those links. Let's say that we only want to leave the change password, but we did not want to enable self-service or device registration. So we're going to have to remove that manually. Although there's a code towards the end that gets called by those links, but we can still leave those. It's not going to really interfere with anything. And now we are left with only the change password link. Okay, now we can hit save, and then we can even view it. So use IE9. And here, this is how the user is going to be seeing once we have it enabled on the portal when the guest comes along and log in. So you can pretty much change the look and feel of this page to anything you like as long as you maintain those codes that's important to the page. Okay, just to show you a couple pages that I've done already. Let's pick one, LM AUP. So this is one for the acceptable use policy. So again, I take the coding part of it, copy over as a table, customize it, and then I have this page customized to make it look just like our website. And let me show you also the success page, for example, right here. Since it's fully customized, I also have this button right here customized so that when people click on it at the end of their login process, it would take them to our LabMinutes.com website. So you can do pretty much anything you like. Just one thing I want to make a quick note here. This is something that I discovered while I kind of go through this exercise is there's something special with this login success page. As I mentioned previously, that the link to the file that's not HTML, let me actually show you in the top right here, things like style sheet or logo. Let me show you. So style sheet, that's the path for your style sheet, as well as if I click on the logo. As you can see, it's within the portals and LM guest portal, which is the name of your guest portal, and then the file. Somehow if you put the same path or use the same path on the success page, thing does not work. Okay, so what you have to do is just put the name of the file without the path in front of it. As you will see in a second here, they will work just fine. So if you run into that issues and wondering why your file or logo doesn't show up on the success page, that would be the reason right there. Okay, same as our logo right here. So we just specify the name of the file for the logo. All right, so now that we have all of our customized HTML files, we now can go back to ISE and create a new guest portal. So we'll click add, and again this name has to match the directory name that you have embedded in the HTML file. So we say it's going to be lm_guest_portal. Okay, and instead of choosing the default portal, we're going to choose custom default portal with upload files in parentheses. For operation, we're going to want AUP for every login. Still want self-provisioning. We're going to leave out the mobile portal for now. And we're going to allow the user to change password and then enforce the change password at the first login. For file uploads, we're going to have to upload, let's see, before we do that, let's jump over to file mappings. So you can see here, these fields get enabled depending on what options you choose over here under the operation. So we did not choose, for example, the self-service. That's why the self-registration files requirement or box is grayed out, since it's no longer required. So here we have a login, AUP, change password, success, and error. So for your file upload, all we can do is to upload that one by one. So you have to bear with me in a second here. So start off with our style sheet. Okay, and then let's see, we also need a AUP, change password, error, and login 2, which is the one that we just created, and success, and the last thing is our logo. So right here. And then when you move over to file mapping, you can see those files are now available for you to select, and you can map that. So for the login page, we want to use our LM login 2 HTML. For AUP, we want to use AUP. Password is change password. Guess success is success, and error is error. Right there. Everything else is default. We'll click submit. All right, and now to put the guest portal in effect, we have to go back to policy elements, and then authorization results, authorization profiles, and on the CWA, we're going to change that from the LM guest default to LM guest portal. Save, and at this point, our fully customized guest login portal should be in effect, so we can go ahead and test that. So let's go back to our test windows and let's see if we still have internet. And we do. So what we need to do is to force the session to terminate, and we can do that from the operations live session. This is kind of handy. So based on identity, we know that our test laptop or test computer is right here. And if you drop down with the COA action, we can choose session termination. That's going to force the user or the session to terminate. And that means if you're trying to get back to internet, we once again gets redirected, and this time we are encountering our customized guest login page. Okay, so using the same guest account, let's go ahead and test to see if our HTML code actually works. So again, guest@lm.com, password Cisco, click login, and now we are passed on to the acceptable use policy page, again fully customized by us. We'll click accept terms and conditions and click accept, and now we're at the login successful, which is our, as you can see in the URL, is lm success.html. Okay, and we can click OK. And like I mentioned, I have that button customized so that once that button is clicked, the user is taken over to our LabMinutes.com website. Okay, just to prove that we have our internet, we can switch over to Cisco.com. Okay, so that works properly. Next thing we're going to test is the change password page that we have. So once again, let's force the session to terminate. So right here, session termination, right? And we are once again logged out. With change password, the user have to fully enter the username and the current password, which is Cisco. So that's part of the authentication. But instead of clicking login, you click change password. And this is a change password customize page. So we have to enter the current password and the new password. Let's do Cisco123. Cisco123. Okay, so the password should have been changed. So now just have to re-log in with Cisco123. Okay, same thing since we have the AUP enabled for every time the user logs in. See that again, and now we have successfully logged into our guest internet. All right, so everything is working as far as our HTML code. Then that's for the Windows machine. The last thing I want to show you is on a mobile device. So here we have our iPhone that we can use to test. So let me close that out. And let's go ahead and connect. And right now, if you remember back in, before we start, actually, let me show you this. Back in the configuration of our guest portal, we have the mobile device portal disabled. So right here, LM guest portal operation right here, enable mobile portal is disabled. And when you have the disable, let's go ahead and see what it looks like. It's actually a guest. So that we are now connected to guests. So let's bring up the browser and then go to Cisco.com. And we are redirected to, looks like we had the device blacklist from our previous lab. So let me fix that real quick by going to the My Devices. Employee 1. Again, this is not really relevant to this lab, but right here from the previous lab we have our iPhone blacklisted. So let's go ahead and reinstate and actually delete from that. There you go. And let me try that one more time. I might have to reconnect. Oh, there you go. Looks like I don't have to. So right here, although it doesn't really fit to the page, but you can see that our customized HTML page loaded up. And although it's a little hard to see, we're trying to log in with our guest@lm.com and password Cisco123. Log in. Again, acceptable use policy. Okay, check the box at the bottom. You can see right here, I'm not sure why that page doesn't load properly. But anyhow, we can click, and that's the login success page. And now we're taken over to the Cisco.com, and just to make sure that we actually have the internet access, we can just browse around, and you can see that we do have internet access. Okay, and if you go back to the show live authentication, you can see right here, endpoint profile is the Apple iPhone, so we know that's our phone, and we were able to log in all the way through and get the Buildland Internet Only authorization profile. Okay, but what I want to show you next is going back to the portal page configuration and then enable the mobile portal. Save. We're going to lock out or terminate the session of our iPhone. We see the MAC address is ends 0C. So let me find right here 0C, terminate, going back, Cisco.com. Just make sure it's still connected to the LM-guess. Okay, there we go. Just try CNN.com and now we redirect it. As you can see that once we have that enable mobile portal checked, your customized HTML is no longer in effect for the mobile device. Okay, so just make sure that you're aware of that. So obviously that's a trade-off. If you want the portal to fit to your screen size, then you might want to enable the portal, and obviously you cannot have the customized portal page for that unless you go an extra mile and build a customized HTML page that will also support a screen size for mobile devices. Okay, so that's something I just want to make you aware. But at this point, we have a fully customized HTML page for our guest portal. Okay, also make a note that once you have gone with the customized portal routes, all the pages, and this is regarding of whether it's a self-registration or device registration page, all has to be customized. You cannot have half of the page to be customized and then have to be the default Cisco provided login page. It seems to work fine for just a simple login like we did in this lab, but it gets a little more challenging when you deal with a page like self-registration or the device registration, since there's a lot of customization that you need to do. And it seems that the Cisco provided sample code doesn't seem to work, or I haven't really been able to get those to work. And this is again specifically to these pages that we have it disabled right here. Okay, so customization obviously gives you a complete control of the look and feel of the login portal, but at the same time it comes with the responsibility now that you need to think about every single details on the page. Just like how we had to, for example, manually remove a self-service and device registration link from the login page, since the HTML doesn't really know that we have those features disabled. So, and that's the link that we remove right here. Okay, so things like that, now that you have to worry about, since now you have to do all those yourself, and ISE doesn't really take care of that for you anymore. Okay, so that wraps up our video on ISE 1.2 wireless guests with customized portal. You can visit our website to view an extensive list of our lab videos and sign up to get access to additional lab contents. Thank you for watching LabMinutes.com, and I'll see you guys in the next videos.